So hey guys, welcome back to my world. So today's gonna be a little bit different. So I actually wanted to kind of dive into my life, get a little bit personal and start sharing things with you guys. I finally become a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera. Today's gonna be a video about me reading my personal blog. So if any of you guys are familiar with Tumblr, I used to have an account with Tumblr when I was growing up as a teenager in high school. So I created an account and I actually used Tumblr as my personal diary. And so I thought it would be funny to actually revisit that, to sit here and read back at the things that I used to write and say, or however I used to think or feel at that time. Kind of a great way to kind of reflect on how far I've grown as a person. And so I thought it would be interesting to kind of share that with you guys. So without further ado, we're gonna start this video. So I finally logged in. So funny thing is that I actually named my blog called Personal Issues Within My Life as a Human. I'm so dramatic already. Alright, so I have three long paragraphs. Let's actually jump back to the oldest one. Posted at blog July 10th of 2011. So if you sit and calculate, it's been about 9 years. I'll have to calculate how old I was at the time. How old was I? So I was 16 years old when I first wrote this. I don't think I've read this since I wrote it, but I'm going to read it out loud. Today I decided to make a personal blog. I realized how much things bother me and writing about them could make me feel a lot better. So just about a half an hour ago, my sister started talking about how I treat my dad. Also on how I'm such a bitch. This is funny. And I disrespect him a lot, say no to him constantly and just treat him badly. Then comes Melissa tagging along with Naomi. If you guys don't know who Melissa is, she's actually my stepsister. Both pretty much started bashing me on how I don't appreciate the things my dad does for me and how I'm so mean to him and how I'm such an ass for no apparent reason. And I feel like complete shit and hurt right now. Although I can admit I do treat my dad badly, but I don't tend to do it on purpose. It just happens. I honestly don't know what's in me. I would never want to treat him like that, but it ends up that way. I just needed a whole day with my dad, just for him and I to talk. Talk about how he feels and what he doesn't like about me, etc. So I can understand his side of the story and he could understand mine. I think the big issue with me is that everyone knows about my sexuality but my dad. He is such a big part of my life, but I really want him to know, but I'm afraid of how he would feel about it and how he would act around me after knowing the real me. Basically, every single time I come to New Jersey to spend time with my dad, I put up a front and act like a straight kid. My sister says he knows, but I don't believe it. This is pretty pathetic of me, honestly. So obviously you can hear that at this time in my life, battling with my own sexuality and coming to terms with who I was at that time, and also dealing with the fact that I didn't necessarily know if my father was going to accept me for who I am and for what I was. And so I was just, I guess in my mind at that age, I guess I was sort of lashing out on him because I didn't necessarily know how he would treat me after knowing the reality of the situation and who I really was, because I was hiding such a big part of me. So I guess that was my form of dealing with the situation, not saying it was appropriate. I was very mean to him as a kid. And I guess I didn't know how to cope with it at that time. And that was just my way of coping with it, was just lashing out and being mean and kind of pushing him away and shutting him out of my life. And obviously now that I'm grown and I'm older now, a lot older now, obviously this was how many years ago, I would definitely say to myself that sometimes we push away people in our life because we're scared of what they're really gonna think about us, or we're scared that if they find out who we truly really are, that they're not gonna love us the same or want us the same way as they did prior to knowing that information. And that's not necessarily true, but at that time, obviously as a teenager, I was scared, I was confused, and also I was almost in a sense stuck because I didn't know, should I tell my dad how I'm really feeling and just be my true self and kind of move forward, so that way we can build our relationship forward and better than what it was at that time. Because I do know that I used to be I had a very rocky relationship with my dad as a teenager. As a kid, it was amazing, you know, we spent so much time together, but I feel like as you're developing into your own person and figuring out who you are as a human being, and as you're growing and you're going to school and you're experiencing life and you're being exposed to a whole bunch of different things, you start to see things differently. And at that time, obviously I was battling with my own issues internally, but I think I was also lashing out on him because I didn't know necessarily if I could share that part of me with him and not have him treat me differently or even love me differently. So moving on, I lost where I got. My sister says he knows, but I don't believe it. I want him to actually tell me how he feels and what he has to say about it. I just want to hear the words out of his mouth, nobody else's. I guess my past has to do with my past. What the hell am I referring to? Like, I'm only 16 years old. My past has a lot to do with my fear of him knowing. When I was younger in middle school, people used to always ask me if I was gay and make fun of the way I speak. To this day, it still bothers me. So believe it or not, this is kind of getting a little touchy now because I'm actually going to expose something about myself that a lot of people don't know. I will say that I have this huge insecurity over my own voice. You know, as a kid growing up in middle school, going through high school, I was constantly picked on because of the tone of my voice or the way that I communicated and things like that. So I've always grew up with this insecurity of the way I spoke. Even at my job and even when I'm out in public, I notice I'm a little fearful when it comes to going up to random people and asking for help, whether it be in a grocery store or if I'm shopping. I used to be very scared to actually order food when I used to be at a restaurant. So my sister would actually make fun of me, but if only she really knew that I was insecure about my voice. So that's why I had this fear of asking the server, the waiter, whoever was attending us what I wanted. And I remember as a child, that was like my worst fear, was whenever we went out to eat, knowing that my dad or whoever we were out, they were literally, not that they were forced us, but they wanted us to be a little independent and order our own food. And so when it came to me, I literally would just shut down and I would be so nervous and so shy because I was so insecure about my voice that I didn't like to speak at all. And I would literally have my sister order my food for me for the longest because I just was so insecure about that. So that's actually something I don't think not even my own mom or anybody in my family knows how insecure I am about my own voice. My family, Nathaniel and Naomi, I think it's funny that I only put them in the parentheses, so I guess at that time, the only people who were my family was my cousin and my sister. Said that he would love me no matter what, but I truly don't believe that. And I feel bad because I feel like at that time when I was conversating, I think the only people that I conversated about me being different or having an attraction to men and coming to terms that this may be who I am, and I was finally sharing that with my sister at the time, finally shared that piece of information with my cousin Nathaniel, and they were the only two that ever knew anything about it. Like, I kept this all by myself. They were the only two people I felt comfortable talking to about it. They never made me feel uncomfortable nor unwanted because of who I was. If anything, they were actually very supportive and they were pushing me to just be honest and tell my dad, because they knew what kind of man he was and they knew that he wasn't going to not accept me for who I was, that he wasn't going to stop loving me the way he did. But I had that fear that he would. I'm so uncomfortable around my dad, but I tend to be fine. I believe my dad doesn't love me because I have not received one hug from him the whole time I've been down here. And he doesn't sit and talk to me like he does with my sister. They have such a close bond that I would love to have with my own father. He's constantly showing affection to my sister and calling her princess. My sister tells me, why don't you ask him for a hug or give him one? I guess because I'm uncomfortable with him and I think he doesn't love me. Why would I try to hug someone I'm uncomfortable with and I believe that doesn't love me? Well, that's all I have to say today. Right now, my goal is to have a serious talk with my dad. This conversation will be a breaking point of our relationship. So dramatic, it can either get better or worse than what it is already. I honestly hope I can fix my relationship with my dad. I don't want to have to feel uncomfortable or unloved. I don't want to disrespect him anymore. I don't want him to not like me or not even want to talk to me. I just want a normal father and son relationship where we're close and we love each other. Wow. This is a little touchy for me because I don't necessarily like talking about my feelings all the time. I definitely believe this is something that somebody out there can learn from. You know, if you're somebody that's going through your own battles or your own insecurities on who you are, and sharing that part of you with your parents or your guardian or whoever that you live with can be one of the hardest things that you'll ever go through. It's really sad to believe that at that time, I truly believed in my head that my dad was going to treat me differently or not love me the same way. I was going through my own issues at that time that I necessarily couldn't really be my true self, and I guess in other words, I was lashing out on him, hoping in that way, in the sense, well, let me just continue pushing him away, because I know if I tell him who I really am, he's not going to love me anymore. He's not going to want me anymore or treat me the same. Because of whatever I was going through with myself, I took it out on him, and that caused our relationship to be so estranged or so distant and so apart from each other. And it's sad to say that me personally, because of my biggest demon at that time was eating me away, I was pushing the person who loved me away from me because I was fearful of what or how they would feel after they knew who I really was. So I hope this video was interesting. I hope you guys learned something about me. Had I done things differently today, my relationship with my dad would have been a lot better. And unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it now. I know it was still a very touchy subject for me personally. It was quite interesting that I picked that. Moana! Bye, get down. Get down! It was quite interesting that I actually picked that blog to read and share with you guys because I actually haven't read it since I wrote it. So it's kind of crazy to actually go back and reflect on how I was feeling and just what was going through my mind at that time in my life. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this video, I want you to give this video a thumbs up. Also, make sure you click that subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.